In Parliament, with a stronger opposition presence, I expect the tone of the debate to shift. PAP ministers and MPs will have to raise their game, be prepared for sharper questioning, and defend the government's policies and decisions while speaking up for their constituents. They also must be prepared for more substantive debates and engagement with the opposition. I hope the opposition will also step up, go beyond asking questions and criticizing the government's proposals, which is part of their responsibility, to go on to put up serious proposals and ideas of their own to be examined and debated, and if found meritorious, adopted. To show that they are willing and able to play their part as a loyal opposition. For our part, the government will take an open and constructive approach, and let me explain what I mean by this bland term, open and constructive approach. On the specific details of policies, we can be quite relaxed about it. We will be open-minded, we will listen to the different voices, we can try different schemes, solutions, we will take in all constructive views and perspectives, but we of course have to make sure that the discussions are supported by facts and logic and informed by our context and experience. But if it is a major issue which concerns the fundamental interests of the country, the government cannot wait passively for a consensus to form. We will still have a full discussion, in fact probably an even fuller discussion. But at the end of the discussion, if there are still different views, the government will have to make the decision it judges best and take responsibility for it. Having been elected to govern, we must govern. It is the government's duty to make such decisions and to be accountable for the people, to the people, for them. So, discussion is fine, but discussion must lead to action. And finally, if it's an important issue, and we are not yet entirely at item, at 1, the government has to decide we shall go. And in the end, we put it to the voters. Voters have to decide, do they support this or they want something different. That's on issues. But politics is not only about issues, but also about power. And if the issue is not policies and priorities, but a challenge to the government's fitness to govern, then the government will have to stand up and defend itself vigorously. It must put down the challenge and prove that it deserves to be the government, because otherwise it must step aside and let another team take over. This is how the political system is supposed to work. We have a Westminster style of democracy modeled on the British and adapted as we have gone along. It's adversarial by design. In Parliament, the leader of the opposition sits on the opposite front bench, directly opposite the Prime Minister. That's why Mr. Pritam Singh is there, sitting opposite mine. He's not there as a supportive cheerleader, helping the government to perform better. He's there to challenge the incumbent PM and the government, to point out their faults, to highlight where the government has fallen short, to keep chipping away at the government's and the PM's credibility. And so at the next general election, or sooner if the opportunity arises, the opposition can knock the government out of power and take its place. I'm saying this not as a criticism of any political party in Singapore or of anybody in Singapore, but I'm saying this is how the system is designed to work. In the British House of Commons, you've seen Jeremy Corbyn as the leader of the opposition, taking on David Cameron and later Theresa May during Prime Minister's question time. He was not very successful at this, which is why he's no longer there. Now, the new Labour Party leader, Sir Keir Starmer, is doing his best to show up Boris Johnson and to make his own name in the process. In the Australian Parliament, question time for Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his predecessors happens every day when Parliament is sitting and often lasts for more than 1 hour. Every encounter is a gladiatorial contest. Lots of drama and theatre and prepared sound bites. The wittier and more contemptuous, the better. The British or Australian PM has to stand his ground, defend his government's policies, and maintain psychological dominance to show that he deserves to be the PM. If not, MPs on both sides will sense it, and so will the public, and this will influence election outcomes, as well as leadership contests in their parties. In today's Singapore, the tone of our parliamentary debates is less combative than in Westminster or in Canberra, or indeed than the Singapore Legislative Assembly in the early 1960s, when the Barisan Sosialis was a formidable presence on the opposition benches. Our political traditions have developed differently since then. Speeches in the chamber are more substantive, with less verbal fireworks. The opposition is generally more restrained in its style of questioning. Sometimes their questions sound like questions which could have been asked by PAP backbenchers. And no doubt it helps that they know if they take a more strident tone, the ministers are on top of their briefs and will be more than capable of taking them on. But that does not stop them from trying their hand and their luck from time to time, and Mr. Loh Tia Kiang was particularly skilled at this. I listened carefully to Mr. Pritam Singh on Monday describing how he intends to perform the role of leader of the opposition. I applaud his tone and his approach. The government benches will do our part to work with him to keep Parliament a constructive forum for debate. I believe that it's good to have an adequate number of opposition MPs in Parliament. It keeps the government on its toes. It shows the public that the government has nothing to hide and will answer all questions, however awkward. And that is why we increased the minimum number of elected opposition MPs in Parliament to 12, and why in this Parliament we have 2 NC MPs from the Progress Singapore Party to top up the 10 from the Workers' Party. But that does not mean that the more opposition MPs and the more fiery the debate in Parliament is, the better, or that the tone of our political debate cannot change for the worse. The adversarial dynamic that is inherent in the parliamentary system can go wrong. We all hope that diversity will make 100 flowers bloom. But how do we prevent diversity from producing polarisation? How do we make sure that disagreement does not result in paralysis? It has happened in so many other countries. Politics permeates every issue. Every subject becomes partisan. Even public health issues, whether to wear a mask or not, becomes a partisan issue. If you wear a mask, you're a Democrat. If you don't wear a mask, you're a Republican. This is my side, that's yours. There's no middle ground, only sides to take. There are no truths or facts, only different versions of reality. Facts and equal standing, alternative facts. Politics becomes toxic and bitter. The country is divided and goes into a downward spiral. If this happens to Singapore, we will not just cease being an exceptional nation, it will be the end of us. We must not go down this path. At the most fundamental level, to make our politics work, both the government and opposition must share an overriding objective: to work for Singapore and not just for our party or our supporters. Our debate must be based on principles and facts and guided by shared ideals and goals. MPs must speak up for what they sincerely believe in. You are elected not just to repeat what you have heard others say, but to think on behalf of others and to make arguments which make sense, which will benefit the interests of the people you are representing, of the voters who elected you. But to think for yourself and not just to be a mouthpiece. We must be in politics in order to protect Singapore's security, grow our economy, and secure our future. If we do that, then there's a basis for us to manage the inherent tensions in our system and for politics to work out productively. Ultimately, what sort of politics Singapore has depends on Singaporeans themselves, because they have a vital responsibility to engage in the public discourse, to send the right signals at the ballot box, to reward political parties that do the right thing and deliver for the people. The standards they demand of political leaders, PAP and opposition, will influence the quality of the political leadership, the level of discussion and debate in Parliament. They will determine whether our politics enables us to thrive and prosper or divides and destroys us.